This is Focus with Jack Caudill.
Good evening, I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome to this month's edition of Focus. This month we're talking about small business success stories here in the Black Hills. Three of those business owners are with us today. Brian Lintz, he is the owner of Lintz Brothers Pizza in Hermosa. Trevor Johnson, he is with the Clock Shop in Presidential Pond in downtown Rapid City. And Jeff Drumm from Crow Peak Brewing, he is the president and head brewer there up in Spearfish. A couple bits of information before we get too far into this. The Small Business Administration report for 2023 says there are 89,679 small businesses in South Dakota, making up 98.9% of the businesses in the state. They say those businesses employed 209,638 people, 57.5% of the employees in the state. Between March of 2021 and March of 2022, they say that 4,321 establishments open and 2,664 closed. So that number is on the rise. We're going to start with you, Brian. What is the story behind your business? How did you get into the pizza business and get to where you are today?
Well, a lot of things happened for a reason and good cause. My folks actually started a pizza place and campground, a campground originally for the 80th or the 50th anniversary of the Sturgis Rally. A long time ago. You know, we're coming up, I think this year is the 84th anniversary. And so my brother and I were still in high school, and a family friend of my dad's had come up with a pizza recipe and had my folks try it, and they did it there. And so that was the prequel to us, because they ran that for about 8 or 9 years until the Highway 79 expansion came in and took that out. I got through high school, ended up doing radio for about 10 years in Rapid City, and then, as luck would have it, some of our friends that own Mount Rushmore Telephone Company used to come out to Mom and Dad's place all the time, and they called me up in February of '05, and they're like, "Hey, Brian, our father passed away, but before he did, he was so impressed talking with you and your father about if you ever got closer to Hermosa that you guys would like to go into it with you, and if you would like, we're going to build closer to Hermosa on Highway 36." And I was in radio at the time working and just getting by. And so I was left with the task of, do you want to work for yourself and try something, or do you want to stay where it's comfortable? And I decided to take a risk on myself, and so we were able to get the pizza place started that way with the recipe that Charlie had come up with, and we got opened in September of '05, and we've been going strong ever since.
How scary of a leap was that to decide, okay, I'm going to give this a go all in on this?
Well, I tried to go into it as feebly as I could. I was still doing a morning show at the time, and I thought if I can, the 3 years is usually the magic number on if you succeed or fail. And so my goal was to stay in radio for 3 years, and about 3 months into me running my own place and trying to have a full-time job, I got called in and like, we haven't had a problem. We see that you're doing really well, and before there's a problem, we're going to let you go. And it was a panic, because that was in the wintertime, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't know if this is going to work. But that was a blessing, because that focused me into just focusing in on the pizza place and put the time into it that I needed to. Before that, I'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be at the station at 4 o'clock, start putting my show together, and then I'd work until noon, go home and sleep for an hour, and then go to work at the pizza place until 10, 11 o'clock at night. And there's only so much that a young body can do that. So it was good to get that needed rest and focus to be able to work just solely on the pizza place.
Trevor, what's the story behind the Clock Shop and now the Clock Shop in Presidential Pond in downtown Rapid City?
My grandparents started in downtown Rapid with Homecraft Bakery back in the 1970s, and ran that for several years. And then the early 1980s, they purchased a jewelry store that was on the corner in the Buell building, and that was called Uric Goldsmiths, and they had a lot of demand for people needing to get clocks and watches fixed. So they started the clock store as a spin-off down in the basement of the Buell building. And fast forward many years, my folks bought the business. We moved it across the street to where Independent Ale House is now. And over the years we expanded. It wound up in the corner where Plumber Piano used to be, where we are now. And back in 2009, 2010 or so, when the economy really softened, we started buying gold, and I had more and more demand for pre-owned items, people wanting to sell things and borrow against them. So we started Presidential Pawn as kind of a spin-off, and now that's consumed the bulk of the store, more pawn shop than clog store.
How tough was it to get that additional part of this business going?
It wasn't real difficult. We kind of transitioned into it nicely because we were already doing a lot of those things at that time. But it's been a learning curve. None of us had previous experience in the pawn industry. We did have some jewelry experience given my grandparents' background. But it's just been a lot of fun.
Now, Jeff, the craft beer industry is exploding everywhere. You got in on the beginning of that here in the Black Hills. How did all that happen?
So, like many other wannabe brewery owners, I was a home brewer first, and just enjoyed the hobby of brewing, and thought my recipes were good, and friends and family also thought they were good. And so I'm not originally from South Dakota. We moved here from San Diego. My dad was military, so I moved all around. But when we moved here, my wife had a job at Black Hills State University, and I didn't really have any job prospects at the time. So we talked about it and said, well, should we make that jump and try to open a craft brewery in Spearfish? And so we did it, and yeah, 17 years later, it's been a very good ride. So,
how do you make that decision to go from a hobby brewer to now this is going to be my business?
So I took it very seriously. Not to disparage any other breweries, but some brewers, home brewers, jumped into the professional brewing, and you can't just scale up. I mean, there's differences between home brewing and commercial brewing. So I I took classes through the American Brewers Guild just to get more familiar with large-scale brewing, and I think that really helped me. It really helped me understand the scale up and what it would take to turn my hobby into a job, and I really think that benefited me because once I had a grasp over that large-scale brewing, it just made it a lot easier for me to do it.
Now you see a lot of a lot of small businesses come and go. What is the key to making this thing go and making it successful in the long term?
First and foremost, having a good quality product that people enjoy, and then having a very strong base of supporters. Spearfish was very supportive when we first started. I mean, we had people coming in. They were very excited about having a brewery in Spearfish, and the locals pretty much kept us afloat for those first few years, you know, when it's always touch and go with a new business. And so that really helped us out, having that support, the community support.
Trevor, how about you? What do you think is the key to making a small business go around here?
I think just having that personal touch, treating people as you want to be treated, make sure that they're going to come back again, give a positive experience, and just really show appreciation for your customer base.
How about you, Brian? What's the key?
Well, you know, it sounds cliche to always, treat the person that you're taking care of like it's your grandmother, but you really kind of have to. You know, if someone asks for something, you don't do the, I suppose. It's absolutely, I'd like to do that for you. And the better you treat the customers, and all the way around, from the customers to the employees, it really gives you that sense of this is a home business, this is a local business, and people and your employees really respond to that. So.
All right, we are going to take a break, and we'll take a look at some of the challenges that come along with running a small business when we continue with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, talking about small business success stories here in the Black Hills. Trevor Johnson is the owner of the Clock Shop and Presidential Pawn in downtown Rapid City. Obviously, a lot of challenges on the way. It's never an easy run. What are some of the challenges that you see and that other small business owners see these days, or getting going and see today?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges is increasing cost of staffing, making sure that you're paying your people well and competitively. Making sure that you're serving everybody's needs for vacation and things like that, and also serving your customers that you're open adequate hours. There's always different political challenges. We're a firearms dealer, so you never quite know what the future holds as far as that goes. Like in the pawn industry or the jewelry industry, there's always better fakes, whether it's gold bars or Rolex watches. So you just always need to be on your game, continually learning.
Do you get a lot of that fake stuff coming through?
Occasionally, we have different ways of testing it, but it always seems like there's something new that you just looked at a watch the other day that would have almost convinced you that it was right, but after 45 minutes of really scrutinizing it, we found out it wasn't.
Okay, so you caught it before you paid.
Caught it before we paid, yeah.
All right, excellent deal. Jeff Drumm is the president and head brewer at Crow Peak Brewing in Spearfish. What are some of the challenges you faced along the way, at the beginning and even to this day?
Yep, so at the beginning, our biggest challenge was funding. And a lot of small businesses, I'm sure, run into the same issue. When you're a new business, banks, you have no history with banks, so they don't know what you're doing, and especially with the brewing industry, being relatively new in South Dakota, they really didn't know what that business was about. So funding was a big issue for us. I was able to source some used equipment, and that really helped us out. As things went on, we built up our clientele. It got a little easier, but then COVID hit, of course, and then the subsequent inflation and supply chain issues, that was a big challenge for us because breweries rely on a lot of raw materials, and for a while there it was touch and go, getting them in a timely manner. So I think those were the two biggest issues then and right now.
How about getting help? Is there a challenge in staffing these days?
We have been very fortunate. Brian and I were talking about that earlier. All my employees have been there for a long time. We can't hire younger people. Obviously, we're a liquor establishment, so we have to have people who 21 or over, since we don't serve food. And so we've had a really loyal group of bartenders that have stayed on with us. So that has not been one of the issues that I have to deal with, fortunately.
Brian Lintz is the owner of Lintz Brothers Pizza in Hermosa. How about you? What kind of challenges have you faced along the road here? I know the fire obviously is one of them.
Yeah, when we got opened back in 2015, we were really fortunate because we were able to find some equipment, kind of like Jeff, where it was pennies on the dollar for equipment, whereas, like our pizza oven, you're looking at a $30,000 expense. We were able to do that in under probably $5,000, and things just kind of fell into place at random times that just helped us out. And a lot of it is, I'm going to say probably 90% of it is just that good luck for a lot of these businesses to be able to get off the ground and being able to see those opportunities come up when they come up. If you can keep your overhead expenses down when you first start, that helps out a lot. So.
How about the fire? How tough was that for you guys? If people don't know, a fire decimated your business.
Yeah, back in 2015, and this is a day which will live in infamy because it's December 7th of 2015, and so you, of course, Jack, being a sports director at one time, I'm a big Boston Celtics fan and a Larry Bird fan, and every year I would wake my children up and go, "Good morning, children. You know what day it is today? Yeah, it's Pearl Harbor, but it's also Larry Bird's birthday." And I have to now throw in the fire took the pizza place, but I had a lot of Celtics memorabilia and stuff that was lost in the fire as well, and it just was that knife in the back that it was on Larry Bird's birthday as well. So that was a challenging time to go through, but again, we were blessed with the people that had a hand in putting it back together. A lot of the RCS Construction helped with that, and a lot of those guys that were having a strong hand in that I'd gone to school with, and fortunately they were patrons of the pizza place and really were hungry to get pizza going again, so there wasn't a lot of delays and setbacks, and so we were able to get opened almost 7 months to the day after the fire. So again, just a great blessing that we were able to have. So.
Jeff, you guys in Crow Peak are well known for your community involvement. How important is that for a small business to be right there and do that kind of stuff?
I think it's very important. I mean, you're relying on your locals to support you, and I think it's important that you also give back to the community that you live in. From the outset, that was one of our goals was to be part of the community and give back to that community that supports us so well. So I think it's very important for any business to look at that and make sure that you're taking care of your local people and supporting them when they need something, or if they have a fundraiser going, then do your best to support that because you rely on them for their support as well. So.
Trevor, how about you? What about community involvement? Why is that key?
Yeah,
making it go?
It's key. But I think it's key because you're investing in the future of our city, and that's really what all that we've got. At the end of the day, is the community that we live in, and you just want to, I guess, be involved in it, make it a better place than you found it. Have it be clean. Want to be a place that people want to go to. We're one of the few places, I always joke, that you can actually call and somebody answers the phone every time you call. You don't have to wait on hold or get a computer or something.
How about you, Brian? What's your feeling on community involvement and in a small business?
So we've been fortunate because our family ranch is just 4 miles past the pizza place, and so I grew up in that area. But we sponsor 4-H rodeos, high school rodeos, the Hermosa School, the Custer School District, Rapid City. It's a chance to always be involved and help out and do that. The Mount Rushmore Telephone Company that I told you, so we leased the building from them, and especially after the fire, I knew they were great people to work with. But talking with Bruce a little bit more, and they actually have a division within their group that works on economic development for the areas that they are in, because they're based out of Minnesota, and they're in a lot of small communities like Hermosa. And so just the fact that they put thought and money and time into what's going to help these local communities out the best, it's a great win-win for everybody involved with it.
All right, we got to take another break, and we'll be back continuing our look at small business success stories here in the Black Hills when we continue with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, talking about small business success stories here in South Dakota. Jeff Drumm is the president and head brewer at Crow Peak Brewing in Spearfish. Jeff, how is the economic outlook around here when it comes to things like property and rent and loans and payroll and taxes? How is all that atmosphere for a small business these days?
I can't lie, it's making it tough for small businesses. Just the taxes that you have to pay, finding people that are willing to work for what you can afford to pay them, minimum wage. A lot of younger kids are looking for things that are beyond small businesses' scope of being able to pay. The housing, people coming in, buying up properties. I mean, it's tough. It's tough for everybody, I think. But for small business, I think it's just it's all coming down to being able to pay all your bills, and then also paying your help. And it's a tough situation right now, I think, for all small business.
Trevor Johnson is the owner of the Clock Shop and Presidential Pawn in downtown Rapid City. How do you look at the economic climate around here these days?
I think that we're a little bit isolated where we live, and I always feel like we're fortunate to be where we're at. We didn't have a shutdown during COVID, and I can't think of a better place to live, but there are drastically increasing costs, from rent to food to fuel, and your dollar doesn't go as far anymore. So you need to be aware of what employees are getting paid, and it does make it more difficult to recruit if they can't find housing or, if they need to take on a second job or something.
Brian Lintz is the owner of Lintz Brothers Pizza in Hermosa. How do you perceive the economic outlook around here?
Well, it's a challenge, and it's going to take leadership to try to figure out the best course to be able to help out everybody equally. And we look at some of the things that we've done to, as you know, being business owners, we're the last ones that get paid, so we have to make sure that our staff is taken care of and bills are getting paid. When we look at what products we're going to carry, sometimes like one of our big sellers was our pig wings, which are pork shank. And it got to a point to where when inflation and everything went up, it was almost 10, 12 bucks a pound. And we just, all right, I don't feel good on charging people that much for a pound at that time, because they were big wings. It's like 6 pieces, and I'm not going to charge $20 for 6 pieces. So I just took them off the menu for a while. So things like that, where you just made smart choices with your menu, made sure that your employees were taken care of. Those things that you have control of, you worry about. The things that you don't have control of, you hope that the right people are put in place to fix those things, and just run with it.
You often hear that phrase, shop local, buy local, thrown around. From the perspective of a small business owner, how important is that? What does that mean to you?
Well, we do that as much as we can, because, again, a local dollar spent here stays here, and if we can do that as much as possible, that just makes everybody else around the area that much better. So, you know, we try to do that as much as possible to be able to bring in products, and I always joke about it, but I really want to, is during the buffalo roundup, is to get some buffalo from like the 777 and be able to have a buffalo pizza. My wife calls me the Willy Wonka of pizza because we come up with all the different recipes, but to be able to utilize some of that stuff in a special way is kind of a fun twist on it. So,
Trevor, how about you? What does that buy local mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's very important that we keep business as local as we can, but it's also important that you stay competitive and you want to compel people to do business locally, whether it's better service, better product knowledge, competitive on prices. It's very important, but unfortunately we live in a world that it's very accessible to shop online, and you just have to try and have an edge over the online competitors.
How about you, Jeff? What do you see as that, the importance of buy local, shop local?
I find it very important. You know, we're producing a quality beverage, and the other two breweries and Spearfish as well. And so it's nice to see people come in and appreciate what you're producing. I get a sad feeling in me when I see somebody at the market across the way picking up a 12-pack of some domestic beer that's not locally brewed. But I understand that everyone has their own taste. But yeah, I think, and again, trying to source some of our things locally is also very important for us. We like to incorporate locally grown produce in some of our beers, and that helps out the farmers and the growers in our part of the town, and people enjoy a beer with a local aspect to it. So
we talked about some of the challenges. What's going well?
We continue to have a very positive experience from both locals and out of state. Right now is our tourist season, and a lot of tourists come in, and I get a lot of gratification talking to some of them at the bar and how much they appreciate the products they're drinking, and so that's really going well. I mean, I'm really happy with the reception of our product in the community and from people outside of our community.
For Trevor, what's going well for you guys these days?
I think that we live in a beautiful part of the country. We've got a great downtown. We have, I think, some of the kindest people on earth that live in Rapid City, and just feel fortunate to be where we're at, and that locally things haven't really dropped off economically at this point. Just glad to be here.
How about you, Brian? What's going well for you guys?
Well, everybody has to eat, you know, so I'm kind of blessed on that. The cool thing is, you know, the craft beer part of it, you know, you got in on the ground floor of it. Well, there's kind of been a resurgence of people with pizza, so there's a lot more pizza places opening up. I like seeing that because that gives you feedback, and people like to try new things. I like to try new pizzas and stuff, so just the fact that that's kind of really starting to pick up with pace again it's a really cool thing in the area. So as long as we can keep throwing pizza out and making people happy, that's the main part. So
now you guys are a little off the beaten path down there in Hermosa. Is that a help? Is that a hindrance? How does that work?
You know, so during the rally, we kind of lose our locals because they don't like traveling out with the bikes and stuff, and so the bikes kind of filter in, and we don't have those peaks. We just have that nice even keel. But realistically, I'm old enough to remember that there was only a 2-lane from Hermosa to Rapid, and so you'd get stuck behind a tractor sometimes and it'd take you an hour to get to town. Now I can make it to Rapid, from Hermosa to Rapid, in about 12 minutes. So it's not that far off the beaten path now. And so, you know, Fridays people heading down to the lake in the summertime, and then Sunday they're tired and bloodshot and hungry trying to drive back, and they'll grab pizza on the way back. So we've kind of filled that niche for the Southern Hills. So.
All right, we are out of time. I hate to cut you off. Brian Lintz, Trevor Johnson, and Jeff Drumm, thank you guys for coming up, and thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again the first Sunday night of next month for another edition of Focus. Good night.